So guys, it's been quite the year for builds on our server, so I have for you the 10 best buildings from the server from the last 12 months, but not just that, I'm going to include a few notable mentions towards the end, so make sure you stick around for that. But without further ado, let's jump in to our number 10 position. Let's see what's on this list first. So, first on our list here, we have Lake BLED, built by OZZY and Limberton in about May 2021. This place is beautiful. It's a church with a few other buildings located on top of an island that sits in a lake surrounded by trees, and it's just beautiful. Now, it is based on a real life place in Slovakia by the same name, Lake BLED, and this place has been used by royalty and the likes emperors across the time who would come here and use the waters in the lake for medicinal purposes. Now, the building itself, the main central church, is built in the Baroque style around about the late 17th century. Gotta say, I do love that big bronze spire coming out the top there. So the whole place is just really nicely made. You've got a beautiful bit of terraforming and landscaping around it. And guys, even though it's at the bottom of the list here, it certainly is not a bad build. Not a bad build at all. So great stuff here. Right, I think it's time to move on to our next build. So sticking with our theme of islands, in at number 9 is St Arnold's Mount. Now this was built by Sir Lancelot in the summer last year, and it's based on St Michael's Mount down in Cornwall in England. And me and him went around here on a lovely afternoon with the builder tour, and he showed me every aspect of this castle and island. I've got to say, Lance, it was incredible. I loved it, and as I said to you over in the gardens behind the back, that this place really does remind me of St Michael's Mount. So the building itself is a castle on top of a beautiful crag of volcanic rock. Now the landscaping around here is on point, the tree choice is great as well, and the scaling and the design inside the castle as well is perfect. Now in the grounds there is, as I said, an entire village as well, so it wasn't just the castle on top, no, it was the whole village, the harbour, some boats, and even a diagonal ship. So Sir Lancelot, this is a great build and I really loved walking around it with you. So here it is at number 9 on our list. Right, let's move on to our next location. So in at number 8 on our list is a German castle. This is Schloss LINDERHOF. I'm sorry for my pronunciation of that to any Germans out there. Now this was built by Goose and OZZY back in April, March time, and I think I featured it in the April update of the server update tour. So if you want to go take a look around the grounds and see it all in person, then check out that video below. But this place is a German palace designed by King Ludwig II, who was known as the Mad King. He's also credited for designing the Neuschwanstein Castle, which was actually featured as number 1 in last year's top 10 list. So this place is beautiful, and Goose and OZZY, as always working as a team, create such fantastical areas and designs. So far you've seen OZZY twice on this list already as part of a duo. So I think it's time now to move on to our next location, which may also be a castle. So in at number 7 on our list, as I mentioned, it's a castle. This is HEBDEN Castle, designed by KRISTA. Now this is based on Arundel Castle mixed in with a bit of Windsor Castle from England, and I've got to say I love texturing in the walls so much that I know you have gone around and retextured it a couple of times since you built it all the way back in April 2021. This was built as part of the Castle and Forts server competition we were running over in Discord. But if you want to see a good in-depth tour around here, I did walk around it in the May server update tour, so make sure you go check that out as well. So let's move on now to another place. Let's go see what's next on our list. So number 6 on our list takes us over to the Kalmar lands. This is Pelham Palace, the royal residence of the King of Sweden, or the King of Kalmar in our world. And this was built by Hotkey, probably started construction almost a year ago now, but I first showed it off in the February server update tour, and there is a planned afternoon with the builder coming soon where me and Hotkey will walk around Pelham and the royal palace and show it off in much more detail. This place is based on a Baroque palace from Stockholm, and I've got to say the details around it are incredible. And I love the fact that half of it is actually a fort with all sorts of large guns on there to make sure you can gun down those invading forces, because we know Kalmar is an aggressor on our server. So guys, let's move on now to number 5. We're halfway through the list. So our first offering from Duncan on the list, and it might not be the last, but this is Castle de Haar, the beautiful romantic looking structure made out of red brick located here in United Lowlands. The building just has this feeling about it. It's got all of these round towers with the big spires on them, looking like a fantasy castle from a fairy tale. I do love the black stone roof on this one. It really does set off that red brick very well. The gardens are all lovely and done. There's some copper beaches lining the paths around there, and not only that, Duncan has been working hard on adding a village to the grounds of here as well, which I did recently show off in the December server update tour. But this place was actually first featured in May 2021. It's one of the older ones on our list here, but still, this place is beautiful and it really does deserve a proper fly round cinematic one day. So let's move on to our next location. So many of you will know that Goose has been very busy building ships over the last year. Now, the fleet of GANSBURG is coming in here at number 4 on our list, as voted for by our builders. They all love it. I've got to say I love it as well. So based on the German battlecruiser fleet at the time and at the turn of the 20th century, this place is made up of every ship that Goose has built over the last few months. There is so many details on board each one, it's just impossible to show them off in any one video. So Goose, great addition to the list here. I can't wait for this place to be scuttled by the Whiteburgian Navy in an upcoming war that I'm sure will happen one day soon. But nevertheless, I look forward to what you bring the world in 2022. So next up on our list, we got somewhere else to go. So let's head on over to our next location. So coming in 7 points higher than it did last year, we have HEBDEN Central Station, as built by Duncan and Tima. So this place featured back last year like I mentioned, but that was only the first incarnation of it. Duncan and Tima have been working very hard upgrading their station over the last year, adding a huge sidings and also extending the main area of the platforms. There are some little lion statues that are dotted around the place as well, and if you want a full in-depth tour, me and Duncan took a wander around here during his afternoon with a builder, so make sure you go check that video out over on the channel as well. There's now a huge section of townhouses around the back of this place, adding to a nice marina feel to it. I've got to say guys, great work indeed. You know I love my trainer stations, and this one clearly has scored nice and high because it's a beautiful building based on that of the Amsterdam main train station. So guys, let's move on to our penultimate place before we find out what our honourable mentions are. Although not in a proper location yet, number 2 on our list is the Grand Opera Real of Rome, based on the Trevi Fountain and the Opera House that sits behind it. This is built by WUBEX. Now, I loved this place so much. The interior of it absolutely blew me away when I toured it back in March 2021. I have just heard from WUBEX that the exterior will be reconfigured to suit the rest of Rome once it's been replaced back in the city, but the interior itself will stay the same in that absolutely gorgeous fashion. The details inside here are incredible. Coming back inside here, I was overwhelmed again with passion. Now, this place is definitely featured up here at number 2 for a reason. Can you see why? So guys, it's now time to move on to our honourable mentions before we reach that number 1 spot. So let's get started with those. So the first honourable mention goes out to Hearst Castle, built by myself. Now this one was built back in March, and I did so because the castle itself started to collapse into the sea. So I thought as an homage to it, I might as well rebuild it here in game. And it does form a great defensive part of Walhampton, which is built just up the river behind it. Right, our second notable mention. The Royal Upton Downs racecourse was built by the entire build team for my birthday back in March last year. Now if you want to see it featured in a video, we had a race around here on ice tracks with boats, and I've got to say that's some of the most fun I've had in a very long time. So guys, thank you so much for building this place. It will be sited in Whiteburg City soon enough. While not a real location, it had to be on this list. This is Camelot, built by Goblin and LANKAN as part of the Castles and Forts competition earlier this year. This place is great and the hand textured walls are just exquisite guys. Great job indeed. I do love that we have a fantasy castle on here, somewhere in Whiteburg. Now onto our final notable mention. While the interior was featured on here last year at number 9, the exterior was finally finished. This is St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, built by Wobex and Bobex, and I thought it had to have a quick mention on here just for the sheer scale and the beauty of the details around it. This place gives me the chills every time I come here. Well guys, that has been the notable mentions. It's now time to move on to our number 1 position. Have you guessed it yet? So this year has seen the construction of the capital city of Whiteburg. Whiteburg City now sits here along the River Avon, and the main centrepiece of it is the Palace of HAMPWICK, based on Greenwich Naval College, along with a lot of alterations, additional buildings, and just the entire landscape. This place has been a team effort, and I must say a big thank you to everyone that took part in it. Whiteburg City is really shaping up to be what I dreamed it to be, and I gotta say, I love this place so much. Every angle, every detail, it just works. We now have gone through and designed our own version of English Baroque architecture with the lovely sandstone through to quartz motifs. Now guys, that has been number 1 on this list, and I'm forever grateful that I've had a chance to be able to build this place. So guys, that has been the top 10 list for 2021. I hope your favourites made it in there. Let me know in the comments below if they did not, and stay tuned for 2022, because if 2021 is anything to go on, this year is going to be even better. So guys, remember, get inspired, get building, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.